Smashers and Smashes, yes, it is I, Skynet, once again for another episode. This time I've got Shane Smith in my repertoire, and I'm very glad to say I had this interview. A little disclaimer though, the gameplay in this video is not that of Mr. Shane Smith, it is actually in fact of Pink Fresh, and I think you will all enjoy his content very much if you do follow him as well, and the VGC camp as well. I do not own any of their videos. With that being said, I do pose the question today, which is, what is your favorite item in Smash Brothers and why? As always, don't forget, the social media of Mr. Shane Smith is down below, and if you do enjoy his content, please do follow him. I actually would like to say one last thing. I would like to say that there is some surprises in store for future episodes. I think it will also really help advance my videos and make the content that much greater. So with that being said, please do continue to watch, and it would mean a lot to me if you guys would just drop a comment, like, and just share it with your friends. With that being said, let's jump right into this episode with Mr. Shane Smith on Inside the Mind of a Smasher, and I will see you all in future installments. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, it's Skynerd here from The Roost, and I'm coming today with my newest interview.
Shane Smith, also known as Passion.
Cool. And so, Passion is your gamer tag, is that correct, Shane?
Yes it is.
And how'd you come up with that?
Really, it started as a reference to Mr. Passion from Mother 3. Mother has always been a very important game series to me, with Mother 3 being my favorite game and Earthbound being at least top 5.
Okay. And so you're a really big fan of Mother games. You like those?
Yes.
So, who's your main then?
Well, it may not be such a big surprise, but Lucas from Mother 3.
Okay, that makes sense now. So it all correlates together.
Yes.
So, you're primarily a Smash 4 player then? I mean, some players do play Brawl, but you are...
Yes, I was a big PM player in the day, but, like, back in 3.02, those Lucas nerfs hit hard, and then Smash 4 came out, so...
So, you switched to Smash 4 now, and because of that, what do you feel some of the disadvantages Lucas has as a character?
I personally believe that he has the potential to be not a high tier, but a low high tier. I would say around Yoshi or DK. He has the potential for this. He currently does not have the results other than from Taihada in order to prove these, but I feel like if we get another player similar to Taihada or Pink Fresh, then he can move up. He currently has some of the best aggressive neutrals in the game, like I like to call it, similar to something like Diddy Kong or Ness, where you are kind of in their face, but at the same time you're in the neutral.
We talked about how you feel like Lucas has a couple... He's lacking in a little bit of areas, but you also feel like he has the best neutral game as well. And what makes him separate from Ness's neutral game?
The strong thing about Lucas's neutral game is that he has a lot of potential energy and the ability to escape very well. Despite him being a mid-speed character, he can escape situations really well with the fact that he can wave bounce PK Fire to throw out a hitbox as well as escape situations. And he is very good at frustrating the opponent, forcing shields, forcing air dodges, forcing jumps, and he's extremely good at punishing those due to having grab combos that can go anywhere from the low grab combos are like 25%, and the high grab combos can reach as much as 60. So, and on top of being a very good character at high percents due to having down throw up air at about 100 and kill throws about 120 and beyond. He is very good at scaring the opponent when he needs to and spacing them out hard.
Right. So you would say, what kind of playstyle would you say your Lucas is?
I would say very defensive. A lot of problems that mid-level Lucas players have is that they're like, ooh, this character has neutral air combos, and then they'll run around the stage neutral airing on shield, and then they get frustrated when they get killed because they get killed by out of shield options. And I feel like in order to really optimize Lucas, you have to optimize his shield pressure and force the opponents to shield more so you can get those important grab combos that you need.
So you'd be more of a... So you said that you're defensive. Would that mean that you're in and out, you're analyzing each situation accordingly and then making your move, and then from there you're applying the pressure so your opponent can't really do anything from that, and they have to rely, they, like you said, they get a little frustrated, and that not only affects their psychological game, but their physical game as well.
Correct. I feel Smash Bros. Is a mental game at its heart. It's very much a game between two mindsets, and mentioning Lucas is one of the more scary characters in this game, especially for a mid-tier. I feel like that means a lot.
I feel you on that. So, what scene are you in?
I am in southern Texas, which is about an hour north of... 2 hours north of Mexico, and about an hour south of Houston. Currently on my PR, I am number 1 in my county, which is Matagorda.
Okay, and what other players are in your scene? Any notable players, or what's a tough opponent for you in your scene?
There are quite a few. I'm very bad with names, but there are a few very exceptional DK players. One of them I even think is a friend with DK Will. A few very good Yoshi mains. Of course, many Cloud mains. We even have a pretty good Dr. Mario main around here. The hardest matchup for me as a whole, I would say Lucas's hardest matchup is Diddy Kong, but we don't have any exceptional Diddy Kongs in Matagorda County. Once you get to Houston, DJ Flip Flop is around, and he's one of the best Diddy Kongs out there. So if you want to go to where I am in the power rankings, I would say DK. That's simply because it's just very hard to deal with him due to stuff like up tilt out of shield killing so early, like 110.
So you would say that DK is... I actually agree with you that DK is pretty hard because he kills a lot of characters off the top really easily with that up throw up air. So what stages would you say... These don't have to be legal stages, but what would you say is your favorite competitive stage, and then your favorite stage in the game entirely?
I do not play non-legal stages very often, so I would say both my favorite stage competitive-wise and my favorite stage casual-wise would have to be Town and City. This would simply be because it just, it allows down throw up air, it allows up throw kills, and it's very nice in general to, not have that much of a trouble killing above 130 when most of his kill confirms don't work. And Town and City is just perfect for that. Okay,
I could see that. I actually think Town and City is a pretty cool stage. I actually my favorite song there is KK Bubblegum. It's just, I like it. I don't know why. It jives with me. So, I think the music at Town and City is really good. What's your thoughts on music during gameplay? Like headphones, that kind of stuff.
I am a very sound-focused player. I personally do not listen to music when playing very often. Because contrary to, I wouldn't say most players, but a lot of players, I work better under pressure, which is weird. But, so calming myself doesn't really work as hard as, staying really focused in the game. And, so usually if I'm in tournament, I'll just put some headphones on, the gamepad, plug them into the gamepad so I can listen to the game sound, or if I'm in friendlies, I'll just turn the TV sound on. Okay, that makes sense. It just allows you to focus more and get less distracted, because I just recently did an interview, and
a lot of players, I feel like they have a big problem with getting distracted because of the hype, and people are, they get so excited about the game. So with that being the case, they either wear music or they don't, or they just purely focus on the game, which is, I feel, a very difficult thing to master. So, I mean, all power to you for just zoning in on the game and just focusing. What is your opinion on coaching?
I do like how they ban it at higher bracket, like top 64, top 32, whatever. But in lower level play, I do see where they want it, as it can, it helps top level players stay level headed, as they do not have to focus so hard on oh, what is he doing in this situation, as much as most would. Personally, I don't use coaching, never really have, and I'm not sure if I will at bigger tournaments, but I think in pools you should be able to, but in bracket you should not.
And why do you feel like in bracket you shouldn't, but pools you should?
It becomes even more this is mentality versus mentality. This is brain versus brain, and if you're not gonna spend personally, I spend almost all of game one testing things. I'll test what they do on shield, what they do in blank situation. If I throw out a forward air, will they roll away? If so, I'll run forward and grab, and then get down throw combos. And I feel later in the tournament, you should not be able to have someone tell you that.
Mm-hmm. You need to be able to focus on it as yourself, because if you have somebody else is there, then it takes away from your personal skill, you feel.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. So, what is your mentality during a fight? What is your best way, aside from listening to music during the game, what's generally going on in your mind during a fight, aside from, it's past game one, okay? So you figured out what they generally do. What do you plan, or do you plan ahead, or do you just go with the flow in a match?
It really depends on the opponent. As I said before, game one, I spend practically all game seeing what they're doing, seeing if they're gonna be play a bigger cat and mouse game, or just see what they do with their defensive options and offensive options. Game two, I generally try to counterplay them. I'm counterplaying what I've learned from the previous game, and if they mix it up, I'll usually take that knowledge on either for next time I play them, or game three if they won game one. I just spend a lot of my time baiting out my opponent to see what they do. Okay,
I see. So you're putting the system in motion to be able to punish them for mistakes that you've noticed earlier on, and then you can capitalize even more and then win out the set that way. Pretty much.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. What was one of your hardest fights that you've recently had?
Just yesterday, I faced Parappa, who is, in mine and my friends who mains Bowser Jr., he believes that Parappa is easy top 3 Bowser Jr. mains in the world. I personally have him as number 2, but I took a best of 3 off of him, 2-1 in my favor.
Wow.
And yeah,
that's
close games all around.
That's nuts. Congratulations, man. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
So in was this in tournament, or what was this?
I'm trying to play more obscure matchups. I have these really tough troubles with Duck Hunt Dog, just these weird matchups that no one plays, and so I'm trying to go to the more higher level players of these characters and play them, just so I learn the matchup.
That makes
some of them are very important. Oh my goodness, I really need to learn the Sonic matchup, but there's also some weird ones, as I said, Duck Hunt Dog or Pac-Man.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of interesting characters in this game, and what's great about it, I feel, is that every character can become viable through like determination. It's not just sure matchups will be difficult and they'll be harder than other ones, but if you put your mind to it, you can make any character viable. And as you were saying, you can get thrown off so easily from a matchup you don't know, which will bring me to my brings me to my next question for you. What's your thoughts on Anther's ladders? Have you ever used Anther's ladder?
Yes, that is actually what I used to meet up with Parappa.
Okay. Would you say that Anther's ladder provides a way to gain more matchup knowledge than anything else?
I feel like Anther's ladder is a very vital thing. I've quickly learned that as I play a select few group of people more and more, even when meeting someone else who plays that character, you'll kind of read things that the other player would do. For example, at TGC 6, I played DJ Flip Flop, who is the Diddy Kong player I mentioned earlier, and I feel like I played a friend who played Diddy Kong a lot, and he was an overall okay player at the time. Now he has improved a lot since, and now mains Toon Link. But when he mained Diddy Kong at the time, I feel like a lot of what I was reading from DJ Flip Flop was stuff that he would have done. Like, he had a monkey flip habit, so I would read the monkey flip, or I would try to read a monkey flip when DJ Flip Flop went to one, and then he would get a free banana, and then suddenly that already hard matchup becomes even harder because, oh goodness, he has kill confirms. Right.
Okay, so Anther's ladder is I feel like Anther's ladder is personally a great tool to get that matchup experience that you don't normally get in a scene. Like, let's say your scene has so many select characters that are allowed, or not allowed, but people play. And I feel like Anther's allows you, even if it's Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi does have lag and it has problems and it can affect your outside game, I still feel like it gives a good, solid matchup experience for players who aren't familiar with it. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I know a few people who don't really, or struggle to go to tournaments and won't play much Wi-Fi, and I have always said, and I will always say, that playing your character at like 70% is always than not playing your character. Like, not playing the game will always be worse than playing the game with a bit of lag.
Right. I definitely agree with you. So, we've talked about how online play is, how matchup experience is. What would you say is your goal in Smash 4? What is it that you want to accomplish?
My current goal is to become the best Lucas in the world. Within time, I want to show that Lucas has the potential to be solo tournament viable, or if not, then secondary may be recommended, like around where like Peach is. I want to show that Lucas is a good character, and he is not a character that should be overshadowed by Ness, which is what a lot of people give him, which is strange to me because I don't understand the mentality of they're in the same game series, therefore they should be compared.
Separate characters need to be compiled as separate characters, and people do all too often compare Ness to Lucas, and they'll say that, oh, Ness has all these options, where I feel that Lucas, I think I'm in the same boat as you here, is that Lucas is just as viable if you really know how to play him. If you master your character, you really can show that these characters are viable in tournaments. So,
personally, I think Lucas is a safer pick than Ness, because I don't think Lucas has any matchups that are nearly as bad as stuff like Ness Rosalina, Ness Villager, or Ness Prefat Sheik. Like, those were tough. And I feel like Lucas doesn't really have any of those matchups other than like Diddy Kong and kind of Sonic. Like, Sonic gives Lucas a lot of trouble, and Diddy Kong gives Lucas a lot of trouble. But I don't feel like Lucas has any matchups where he gets shut down as hard as Rosalina, Ness, and so on, as I mentioned earlier.
Right.
It's just like, generally, if I were to go for like solo viable only, I'd actually recommend Lucas.
Okay. Do you have any advice for newer players who want to get into the competitive scene just like you? Like, I see that you are competitive, but what advice would you give to newer players who are nervous about the game and are trying to get into it?
The first thing I recommend is don't be afraid to go to tournaments. It's the saddest thing to see like newer players never go anywhere because they never get the self-confidence to go to a tournament. And it's like the most heartbreaking stuff to see that. I also recommend newer players, they just to save replays. Like, even if they want to do something like buy an Elgato and just play 3 hours of answers, and then I feel like they should just watch that. Mm-hmm. And probably my last main big thing would be never to always play when you're alert, because if you get used to playing when you're alert, then you'll always play alert. You'll always think about what's happening. Some people will autopilot brain dead.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people do that, and that's because they'll play a lot. They'll play an hour a day, but that hour a day is playing with friends, and they're just kind of playing brain dead, and that rubs off in their tournament play.
Absolutely. I feel like it's very crucial that you maintain alertness. I can understand casually, when you're playing and stuff, but when you're at the tournament, if you decide to go, and by the way, any new players who are nervous about it, take the chance, go out to tournaments. It will really help increase your skill. The excuse I feel like a lot of newer players have, and I think you'll agree with me here, is that they don't feel like they're good enough, and they say, oh, I'll just wait until I get better, I'll improve, and then
exactly,
and then they don't, and so they're too nervous to go out to the scene, and that's where you gain the real experience. Going to those tournaments and just experiencing the fights is worth it, and I really hope that all new players take that advice just as much as you've given it out, and I do appreciate you for that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So before we end this interview, is there any shout-outs that you'd like to give? Do you have any sponsors or anybody that you'd like to mention?
I am currently, I do want to get sponsored as I go to more tournaments, but I would like to give a shout-out to my good friend Peachy, who is my main training partner, and Duster, or Ray, who I consider a mentor of mine, as out of anyone, he's the one that has taught me the most about the game. I am mainly self-taught. In my project, back when I played Project M, I would actually just play with CPUs, which is hilarious, but I would still go to tournaments and stuff. But Ray is the main guy who has taught me a lot about this game and mentality and how to counterplay characters.
Gotcha. Well, Shane, Passion, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I really appreciate you allowing us to get this interview, and it's been a great privilege to get to talk to you and share the insights that you have with me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I hope you have a great day, and we look forward to hearing more about your progress in the future.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.